May 10th, 1970. Boston Garden falls silent as Bobby Orr takes flight. His body suspended in mid-air, arms raised in triumph. The puck already nestled in the back of the St. Louis Blues net. This moment, forever frozen in time, captures more than just a Stanley Cup winning goal. It marks the peak of a career that would change hockey forever. But beneath this portrait of victory lies a story of sacrifice. One that would reshape not just the sport, but our understanding of an athlete's physical toll. Before the knee surgeries, before the pain, there was a boy from Parry Sound, Ontario. In this small harbor town on Georgian Bay, Bobby Orr first laced up his skates on frozen ponds and backyard rinks. His father, Doug, a food processing plant worker, and mother Arva watched their young son develop a skating style that seemed to defy the laws of physics. By age 12, Bobby wasn't just playing hockey. He was reimagining what a defenseman could be. The Boston Bruins saw something special in the 14-year-old Orr. In an era when young hockey players were often treated as mere commodities, they made an unprecedented move. They signed him to a junior contract, not just for his skill, but for what they saw in his eyes, a fire that would illuminate the path for generations of players to come. The pressure of being labeled the next big thing would have crushed many young athletes, but Orr embraced it with a quiet determination that would become his trademark. In the Ontario Hockey Association, playing for the Oshawa Generals, Orr didn't just develop, he evolved. Traditional defensemen of the 1960s stayed back, protected their zone, and rarely crossed the blue line, or saw the ice differently. He turned defense into offense, using his supernatural skating ability to carry the puck end to end. The position of defenseman, static for decades, was being transformed by a teenager from small-town Ontario. The hockey world took notice. Scouts filled the stands wherever the Generals played, their notepads filled with superlatives that seemed inadequate to describe what they were witnessing. But alongside the growing legend, there were early warning signs. The aggressive style that made Orr unique also put unprecedented stress on his knees. In junior hockey, he already knew the feeling of ice packs after games, of joints that ached more than they should for someone so young. Yet the future seemed limitless. When Orr made his NHL debut with the Bruins in 1966, Boston, a city with championship expectations, embraced the rookie who played with the wisdom of a veteran and the joy of a kid on a pond. The Garden faithful had no way of knowing that the same explosive speed and aggressive style that thrilled them would also lead to their hero's downfall. In these early years, before the surgeries began to mount, Orr redefined what was possible on hockey skates. He wasn't just a defenseman who could score. He was a revolutionary who forced the entire league to reconsider how the game could be played. The names that would define his career, the Norris Trophies, the Art Ross, the Hart Memorial Trophy, all lay ahead. But so did the doctor's visits, the surgeries, and the painful decisions that would cut short a career destined for even greater heights. The story of Bobby Orr is more than a hockey tale. It's a reminder that sometimes the brightest stars burn at a cost we can't see from the stands. As the young star from Parry Sound took the NHL by storm, no one could predict that his greatest battle wouldn't be against opposing teams, but against his own body. The revolution he started on the ice would eventually lead to another, in how we protect and preserve the athletes who sacrifice everything for their sport. The first signs appeared long before the public knew anything was wrong. In the locker rooms of the late 1960s, away from the roaring crowds and flashing cameras, Bobby Orr was already fighting a private war. Ice packs became his constant companion, wrapping his left knee after every practice, every game. But in an era when playing through pain was seen as a badge of honor, few understood the true cost of each stride on the Garden ice. The medical knowledge of the 1960s seems primitive by today's standards. Team doctors, working with the best intentions but limited tools, could offer little more than cortisone shots and hope. Arthroscopic surgery, now a routine procedure, didn't exist. Instead, each operation meant large incisions, lengthy recoveries, and uncertain outcomes. Yet Orr kept skating, kept scoring, kept revolutionizing the game, even as his knee betrayed him with each passing season. Despite the growing pain, these were the glory years. 8 straight Norris Trophies as the NHL's best defenseman. 2 Stanley Cups. The 1970-71 season saw, or accomplished, what many thought impossible: a defenseman leading the league in scoring with 139 points. He didn't just break records, he shattered expectations of what a hockey player could achieve. The style that made him unique, the explosive acceleration, the sudden stops and starts, the gravity-defying turns, put unprecedented stress on his knees, particularly the left one that bore the brunt of his creative genius. In the training room, the reality was different from the miracle on ice that fans witnessed. Team trainers worked tirelessly to get ready for each game. The routine became increasingly complex. Special tape jobs, pre-game treatments, post-game ice baths. The knee that helped him soar above the ice was slowly grounding one of hockey's most magnificent talents. Yet, refused to change his style. To play cautiously, to hold back, would mean being less than what the sport demanded, less than what he demanded of himself. By 1975, the toll became impossible to hide. What started as occasional swelling had become chronic pain. The same knee that helped him revolutionize hockey had undergone multiple surgeries, each one more intricate than the last. The medical procedures of the time were brutal. Large incisions that left significant scar tissue, recoveries that tested even Orr's legendary determination. Modern sports medicine might have saved his career, but he played in an era when playing hurt was not just expected, it was celebrated. In the training room, away from the spotlight, the treatments grew more desperate. Doctors drained fluid from his knee before games. Trainers tried new taping techniques, anything to give him a few more minutes on the ice. The same medical staff that marveled at his ability to play through pain privately worried about his future. Walking upstairs had become a challenge for a man who once seemed to float above the ice. In quiet moments between periods, as his knee was being wrapped yet again, or must have wondered about the price of greatness. The sport he had transformed was slowly taking away his ability to play it. Yet he persevered, adding to his legend even as his body betrayed him. The fans still saw number 4 gliding across the ice, but few understood that each magnificent rush up the ice, each bone-crushing check, each balletic spin move came at an increasingly steep cost. This was the silent battle, fought in training rooms, doctors' offices, and rehabilitation centers across North America. While the hockey world celebrated his achievements, or waged a private war against his own body. The revolution he started on the ice would eventually lead to another, in how we treat and protect our athletes. But first, there would be more surgery, more pain, and ultimately, decisions that would change the course of hockey history. The 1975 season marked the beginning of the end. The Boston Garden crowd watched in silent worry as their hero's ice time decreased, his explosive speed now tempered by caution. Bobby Orr, the man who once seemed to control time itself on the ice, was now in a race against it. His left knee, veteran of multiple surgeries, was failing him with each passing game. The magical rushes up the ice became less frequent, the defensive plays more measured. The revolution he had started was entering its final chapter. Surgery followed surgery, each one promising hope, each one taking away a little more of what made Orr exceptional. The doctors did their best with the medical knowledge of the 1970s, but they were fighting a losing battle. Arthritis had set in, an old man's ailment in a young champion's knee. At an age when most players enter their prime, or face the unthinkable, the end of his career. The summer of 1976 brought more than just another round of rehabilitation. The Boston Bruins, the only NHL team Orr had ever known, made what many considered an insultingly low offer to their superstar. Alan Eglisson, Orr's agent and trusted advisor, pushed him toward the Chicago Blackhawks, claiming they offered the better deal. What Orr didn't know then, what would only come to light years later, was that Boston had actually offered him an ownership stake in the team, a fact Eglisson had hidden from him. The Chicago experiment proved heartbreaking. Orr's knee allowed him to play only 26 games over 3 seasons with the Blackhawks. Each comeback attempt followed the same pattern: grueling rehabilitation, brief moments of hope, then the familiar pain and swelling. In these final games, fans caught only glimpses of the magic that had revolutionized hockey. The sport's most dynamic player was forced to adapt, to play a more conservative style that went against everything that had made him special. At just 30 years old, Bobby Orr had to face reality. The knee that had allowed him to soar above the ice would no longer allow him to play the game he loved. On November 8th, 1978, he made it official, announcing his retirement from professional hockey. The career that had changed hockey forever had been cut brutally short. In just 657 games over 12 seasons, Orr had recorded 915 points, an unheard-of total for a defenseman at that time. The numbers tell only part of the story. 8 Norris Trophies as the NHL's best defenseman, 3 Hart Trophies as league MVP, 2 Stanley Cups, and the only defenseman to win the Art Ross Trophy as scoring champion. Not once, but twice. But perhaps his greatest achievement was changing how people thought about what was possible in hockey. He had transformed the position of defenseman from a purely defensive role into an offensive weapon. The price for this revolution was steep. Today, Orr walks with a noticeable limp, a constant reminder of the toll his style of play took on his body. Modern sports medicine, with its arthroscopic procedures and advanced rehabilitation techniques, might have extended his career by years. But Orr played in an era when surgery meant large incisions and uncertain outcomes, when playing through pain was not just expected but celebrated. The fall of Bobby Orr was more than just the end of a great career. It was a wake-up call for the sport. His story forced hockey to confront uncomfortable questions about how it treated its players, about the balance between entertainment and athlete welfare, about the true cost of greatness. The revolution he started on the ice would lead to another, equally important one, in how we protect and preserve the athletes who sacrifice everything for their sport. Life after hockey began sooner than anyone expected for Bobby Orr. At an age when most players are in their prime, he found himself facing a new challenge, building a life beyond the game that had defined him. But true to his character, Orr transformed this ending into a new beginning. His experience with Alan Eglison's deception led him down an unexpected path, becoming a player agent himself, determined to protect young athletes from the mistakes and mistreatment he had endured. The Bobby Orr Hockey Group, founded in 2002, emerged as more than just a sports agency. It became a sanctuary for young talents, a place where business decisions were made with the player's well-being in mind. Orr's own experience with career-ending injuries and financial mismanagement shaped his approach. He didn't just want to represent players. He wanted to protect them, guide them, and ensure they had a future after hockey. The medical world has changed dramatically since Orr's playing days. What was once a career-ending injury can now often be treated with minimally invasive surgery and advanced rehabilitation techniques. Modern players benefit from specialized training programs, carefully monitored workloads, and sophisticated injury prevention strategies. Orr's story helped drive many of these changes, as the hockey world realized the true cost of burning out its brightest stars. Today's NHL bears Orr's fingerprints in ways that go far beyond his statistical achievements. The modern offensive defenseman, exemplified by players like Erik Karlsson and Cale Makar, follows the trail he blazed. But perhaps his most important legacy lies in how the game now approaches player health and longevity. The Bobby Orr rule, though unofficial, has become part of hockey wisdom. Protect young talent, even from their own determination to play through pain. The human cost of Orr's shortened career extends beyond personal statistics and records that might have been set. It raises questions about how we measure greatness in sports. Is it through championships and awards, or through the impact one leaves on the game itself? Orr's career, though abbreviated, changed hockey forever. His influence extends from the way defensemen play to how teams handle injuries, from contract negotiations to player development. Medical professionals today look at Orr's case as both a cautionary tale and a catalyst for change. Modern sports medicine, with its emphasis on prevention and long-term athlete health, owes much to the lessons learned from his career. The countless surgeries he endured, the premature end to his playing days, helped shape today's more cautious approach to player health management. In retirement, Orr has become more than a hockey legend. He's an advocate for player rights, a mentor to young athletes, and a living reminder of both the glory and the cost of pushing athletic boundaries. His annual charity game in Parry Sound brings together past and present hockey stars, raising money for youth hockey programs and medical research. The boy who once transformed hockey on the ice now works to transform it from beyond the boards. As Bobby Orr walks through the TD Garden today, his slight limp a testament to his sacrifice. He carries himself with the same quiet dignity that marked his playing career. The revolution he started continues through the players who study his old game films, the agents who learn from his business principles, and the doctors who build upon the lessons of his medical journey. His career may have been cut short, but his impact on hockey stretches far beyond those 12 brilliant seasons. The knee that ended a legend gave birth to a legacy. Bobby Orr's story reminds us that sometimes the greatest contributions to sports come not just from what athletes achieve on the field of play, but from how their experiences shaped the future of the game. In the end, the boy from Parry Sound did more than change how hockey was played. He changed how the sport cares for its own.